All right, good evening, everybody. It is a beautiful night in Manhattan. It's a little bit humid though. Today is July 7th, 2023. It's about 8:53 p.m. here in Midtown. Now, we're actually sitting directly across from the back entrance of the Moynihan train hall. Now, a few days ago on the stream, I wanted to show you guys the brand new Moynihan entrance to the High Line. Unfortunately, I think we didn't get to do that, right? Because it closed early, I think. Well, anyway, so I thought I would sort of start off the stream right at the main entrance. So if you remember, 2 Manhattan West, which is one of the new developments here at the Hudson Yards, it used to be completely covered with scaffolding. That is all taken down now. So it's actually a really nice area for employees and residences to sort of hang out and relax. So we'll be kind of staying around this area. I think it's going to be a shorter than normal live stream for tonight. There is a lot to talk about though. There is a lot to talk about. We got the Nonfarm payroll numbers out earlier today. So we're going to talk about the health of the US economy as it relates to the jobs market, right? That's very important. We also got an update on the unemployment number, which is a very important key metric to keep in mind because the Federal Reserve looks at that very closely. However, it is in my opinion that the labor force participation rate is a little bit more important and gives us a better grasp of the health of the overall job market in the US economy. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And we do have some breaking news in the mortgage market. We've been talking about this for quite some time on the live stream. The average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is yet again above 7%. According to CNBC, as of close of business day today, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 7.14%, which makes sense, right? Because we're going to be talking a lot about the next FOMC meeting, which is the Federal Open Market Committee meeting, which is scheduled for, I believe, July 25th and July 26th. Now, if you look at the futures market, and we're going to go through this today, but if you look at the futures market, there's about an 87% likelihood or an 87% probability that the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates at the next meeting. So usually the bond market will price this in or price those expectations into the yield curve. And as we know, the 10-year US Treasury tracks, or I should say vice versa, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage tracks the trajectory of the 10-year US Treasury. So if you take a look at the bond market, we did have a little bit of a bid in that 10-year US Treasury yield, as well as the 1 year, which is approaching 5.5%, which is huge. That's something to talk about as the bond market starts to compete with equities. Let me go ahead and close up the laptop. I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat. But for tonight, the agenda, we're standing on the corner of West 31st Street. Again, we are directly outside of the back entrance of the Moynihan train station, but we're going to be exploring an exciting new opening here in New York City, which is the brand new High Line entrance, which actually leads you directly to the Whole Foods. So give me one moment, I'll pack up my things, and we will get started. All right, team, what's up? I see Crypto Meme in the chat. Oh my God, we got the one and only FredX. Good to see you, sir. Hopefully everything is well in your neck of the woods. I see Daniel. I see Susan Wolin, Bree Grams, which is now Battery Grams. Lena Sandoval, good to see you. Joel PM. Jafet Perez, Buy the Book. Sunshine After Rain. I see RJ in here. I see Vinny Castellano. What's up, Vinny? Always a pleasure to see you. Now, this is really cool, and I'm really excited about this. However, before we start, we do not have the microphone, so please excuse the wind noise. But look at this. No scaffolding. Could you believe it? Would you ever thought that you would see the Hudson Yards complete without any scaffolding. Well, you're seeing it right now. Look at the lobbies of these brand new Class A office buildings. Now, these have to be at least 30, maybe 40, 50 foot ceilings. I mean, this is really gorgeous. You have the front desk, very, very inviting. And this is probably one of the main reasons why you're seeing a big flight to quality here in New York as it relates to commercial real estate, particularly office, right? You have all of the big companies, a huge flight to safety, if you will, outdated office buildings of the old Manhattan that you saw in the 80s and the 90s. So, I mean, you think about KPMG, you think about BlackRock, a lot of the big consulting firms, they're actually moving to the Hudson Yards. And look at how strategically placed it is. Chances are, if you are a big company, a big bank, or a big investment manager, you have people commuting from Long Island. You have people commuting from New Jersey. And the largest transit hub in New York City is smack dab right here at the Hudson Yards. So this is 2 Manhattan West. It's really, really beautiful. But notice the detail, the attention to detail on the outside. You have these sort of beautiful, almost like flower beds, sort of tree beds, but they made all of the outlines seating for people to come and enjoy and sit down. Not only the residences, and I should say the tenants of the buildings, but regular people like you and me. So I think they did a really good job. Hey, Soho, good to see you. Welcome. Sweet baby Jesus is here. Says my city is the best city in the world. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Hey, awesome. You know what? I'm actually going to be spending a lot of time in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Now, I can't tell you guys why now, but in due time I will. In due time. Now, what do you guys notice about this particular area we are in right now, before we get into all the good financial stuff? Well, if you remembered from the live streams over the winter, this particular entrance to the Hudson Yards was totally covered in the scaffolding, and they had that big lemon exhibit. Who remembers that from the live streams? They used to have, all in this space, it was all lemons. I don't even know what it was for, and it actually smelled like lemons. They had these big sculptures of lemons and all this crazy stuff. And now that it's finally not under construction, they sort of made it like a little bit of an outdoor living space. Now, what I love about this, since we're in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, I mean, the Empire State Building is right behind us. You could actually literally see the spire from here. But they've brought almost like, I should say, nature to you. You know, sometimes it's a little bit taxing being in the concrete jungle. So to have outdoor space with trees and flowers, especially if you're trapped in an office working all day, it's a nice reprieve to come out and sort of relax. So I think they did a great job. You know, all the benches are all brand new. Everything is super clean, which is great to see in and around Penn Station. If you're not new to this stream, you definitely know what I mean when I talk about Penn Station and cleanliness. So we'll just leave it at that. Hey, Golden City says they need to have a WeWork office there for you. Yeah, I mean, WeWork would definitely fit well here, right? It definitely has that collaboration, co-working vibe. All right, real quick, this building right in front of us, if you see the little triangle sort of sticking out the side of the building, that's actually one of the newest, I should say, observation decks in New York City. It's called The Edge. I've yet to go to The Edge, but many of you tell me that it's a pretty good experience. Yeah, Jafet Perez, it's like a botanical garden vibe. It's nice. Lady Sarita says, I agree. I like seeing the green of nature. LB, what's up? DJ is reviewing under 2. Sally is here. What's up? What's up? Bill is here, says watching from Scranton, Pennsylvania. What's up, Bill? Thank you for joining us. Now, the internet may be a little bit spotty here, but we are going to start to make our way over to the Moynihan entrance of the High Line. This is brand new. I got off of work so late last night. I didn't have time to do the stream, which I apologize for, but I actually had dinner right here at the Whole Foods. And they made, you guys will see it in a second, but they did a great job, you know, building outdoor dining space and connecting the High Line directly to the main entrance of the Whole Foods. You guys will see it in a second. I will say this. Peloton, publicly traded company, ticker symbol PTON. You can see a lot of restaurants here, have beautiful outdoor dining setups. Hey, Dan Sang, what's up? Says, hey Tom, have you tried Threads yet? No, I haven't, and I want to talk to you about that tonight. So Dan Sang makes a really good point. Now, we've talked about that potential, I mean, look at this view. Hold on to your face. This is what I call a blow your face or rip your face off view. Unbelievably gorgeous. Right here from the Hudson Yards, looking at the greatest building on the planet, the Empire State Building. Fantastic. Now, the other day, I wish we sort of shot this view because the Empire State Building was lit up in red, white, and blue for the 4th of July. And I think this angle really is probably one of the best ones we've seen on the stream. But, so has anybody heard about the new social media network that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta is coming up with, or they've already launched it? I think Thursday they launched it. It's called Threads. Now, I haven't had a chance to sort of play around with it, but supposedly Mark Zuckerberg and team are trying to make a competitor with Twitter. Now, again, I've been so busy this week, I haven't really been able to read up on it. I was messaging some of you guys over Twitter and, you know, texting some of you about it. And I think Elon Musk and Twitter is suing Mark Zuckerberg. Is that correct, everybody? I don't know, but I believe he's suing, I should just say Elon Musk is suing Meta over their new social media platform, which integrates with Instagram. It's called Threads. And now I haven't used it, but from people who I talk to, they tell me it's a complete ripoff of Twitter. Is that true? What do you guys think? Crypto Meme says yes. Jiminous says I joined Threads. If you have Instagram, it's easy to set up. I think I'm going to set it up this weekend. Joel PM says I noticed Tom calls every angle the best angle for the Empire. Yeah, I'm probably the biggest salesman for the Empire State Building for sure. I always plug that every night. Arctic Paratrooper says good evening, Tom, from Connecticut. All right, team, quick pause on the Mark Zuckerberg and what do we call it, Elon Musk feud. I gotta point this out. So we are now at the brand new Moynihan connection to the High Line. So for a little bit of, just to orient us where we are, this is right behind Madison Square Garden. So this is 31st Street. If you walk all the way down 31st Street towards the Hudson Yards, you're going to get to the brand new Moynihan connection. So you have the elevator here, you have this unbelievable outdoor dining space, which will lead you directly into the Whole Foods. This is actually where I was eating last night. I got off of work like at 10 o'clock at night. Nice area here, sort of, you know, grab your lunch or dinner. But this is the main sort of connection. What do you guys think? Hey, the Wizard is here. What's up? Bill says basic feed-based blogging, nothing actionable. Lawyer was barking. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. All right, so I'm gonna try to give you guys a walking tour of this. So you have Manhattan West. It sort of gives us a breakdown of all the different shops, all of the different restaurants that are opening here, and there's a ton of stuff opening here, by the way. But first, before we walk down here, I wanted to show you guys this Whole Foods. Now, many of you are thinking, it's just a Whole Foods, Tom, relax. It's unbelievable in here. This is actually where I was sitting yesterday. And you have an awesome view of the other side of the High Line. If you guys were here for the Thanksgiving live stream, that's actually where that huge crash happened right there. They have tennis courts. I think these are like pickleball courts or something like that, but it's really nice. And I think this is open to the public till 11 p.m. Hey, DWG is here. This looks great. Highly recommend you come here. So this is it. This is the main entrance of the Whole Foods. And it's cool that the High Line will bring you directly here. Literally drops you off at the main entrance. One of my favorite Whole Foods in the city. And check out the views. Let me know if you guys could see the tennis courts here. It's a little bit hard to get on camera. But I think they did a wonderful job with the Hudson Yards. I'll try to give you guys a panoramic view. Now, I think we could sort of conceptualize now and see why you have this massive flight to quality. And a lot of the businesses in and around Manhattan are choosing to break their leases at some of the older buildings and move to the Class A office structures like you have here at Hudson Yards. Now, think about it for a moment. If you work at BlackRock or KPMG or any of the many companies that are here at Hudson Yards, there's one of which a company called Qualtrics. It's a software company. My friend actually works there. How do you think you're going to attract employees to your company? In a 1980s office building that has, asbestos falling from the ceiling? Or do you want to show them the beautiful High Line that wraps all the way around to your office? Oh, and you have a Starbucks, and you have all these restaurants, and you have a Whole Foods right at your fingertips, and that's not all. These are actually private residences too. 35 Hudson Yards. We sort of talked about that as the Equinox Hotel, but there's also private residences in there. So, if you work at BlackRock or one of these other firms, you could sort of live, work, and play all in one space. So look, I'm very bullish on the outlook for the Hudson Yards over the next couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these other office locations hold up. Yeah, Bill's is so happy Class A is getting the proper love these days. I see Abdullah is here. What's up? FredX is Summer Nights in New York City. Thank you so much. Tom, thank you. Appreciate it. LB is here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we're gonna walk back past the Whole Foods. You can see everybody checking out the view. And then we are gonna jump on the brand new Moynihan entrance, which should bring us to 30th Street, which is actually where we need to go anyway. Hey, Zozo Bob, welcome, my friend. How is everything in Miami? I gotta tell you, I'm doing a lot of work in my house. I actually had the contractors there today. So before I left Miami and came to New York, I ripped up all the concrete in my backyard myself, particularly in and around the septic tank. I think the previous owner, unfortunately, they built huge concrete slabs reinforced with this, 1/4-inch thick rebar, like idiots. I don't know why they did that, all over the top of the tank. So I actually had to rent a concrete saw. From Home Depot and freaking hammer through all that. It took me like 2 days to do it. But yeah, essentially what I want to do is from the driveway, I want to make a fully encapsulated walkway that goes from the driveway to the front patio, around the back, to the second entrance. That's where the Airbnb tenants go in. This way, so I don't have to mow the lawn, right? There'll be no grass. It'll be very, very low maintenance, and it'll be easy for tenants to check in without tripping over broken, gravel and things like that. So I'll keep you updated on that. Wow, look at this view. So for those of you who don't know what you're looking at, this blue building right on the left-hand side of the screen is actually Madison Square Garden. Awesome view from up here. Hey, DM, what's up? He says, hello, Tom and everybody. Did you receive? I did. So DM, I got your email. I'm gonna respond to it this weekend. I was just so busy. I didn't have time to respond to it. But it looks like a beautiful place. Looks like a really, really nice place. I'll definitely email you back this weekend. I got some updates for you too. Hey, Lady Sarita, good to see you. Hold on. Now that we've walked further down, you can actually see the Empire State Building spire from the brand new Moynihan connection. Now, at first glance, everybody, doesn't this sort of look like steel I-beams for a moment? However, if you take a close look, I think this is wood. That is so cool. That is really, really unique. Now, from afar, this looks like those big steel I-beams, but it's not. I don't think so. Yeah, it looks like really solid compressed wood. That is awesome. Very cool. Hey, Cosmo, what's up? Good to see you, Cosmo Scary. Cosmo, have you walked this yet? This is the new connection. I should say the new Moynihan connection. Looks like this is some vacant, maybe office space they're trying to repurpose. Hey, Teresa Diaz, welcome. Dan says, if you had to choose between Boston and New York City, what would you choose? New York City. That's not even like a real question, man. New York City all day. However, I was in Boston actually last month, and it was all right. I went to see my brother. He lives there. Not for me. It's just not a city I could see myself living in. It's very different than New York. It's just very different. Would I visit there? Absolutely. But living in it, I just don't think it has that excitement that New York has. Boston's, to me, it felt like more of a little bit of a laid back city, more spread out. I don't know. At least that was my main takeaways, but I don't know. What about you? Yeah, Cosmo says, did you like the new drone show? I think you're referring to the 4th of July, right? If you are, it was awesome. I think I was actually pretty close to you guys, but I didn't go through the security checkpoint. So you know how in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, I think that's where you were, you have to go through that security checkpoint. I didn't. My friend has a place, so I went on the other side. I wasn't allowed to go physically in the park, but I was like standing directly outside of it, so I had an okay view of it. Not too bad. So this is a visual of where we came from. Walked right across the new connection here. So this just opened in June. There was actually a big grand opening here with the governor of New York, who is Kathy Hochul. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the grand opening. I was in Miami, but I think they did a great job. Very clean. Hey, Jimmy Hooks, is Tom, based on one of your viewers talking about it, I'm intrigued with Seoul, Korea and want to visit. We actually do have quite a few viewers from Korea. I'm very intrigued by it as well. I think Korea is a great country. I really want to visit Seoul. I have a lot of friends who are Korean and who live there. Yeah, and they're one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Now, as it relates to real estate, we had an interesting conversation 2 weeks ago about some of the buying trends of these massive, billionaires row style buildings in New York. And you sort of have waves of buyers, right? So we were talking about, you had a lot of very, very wealthy Russian buyers. Because in Russia, over the last decade, you had select families in Russia essentially make billions of dollars worth of fortunes quite literally overnight, right? Due to the privatization of the major gas company, I believe it's called Gazprom, oil and gas. And you're starting to see a similar trend in Korea. And if you read the book, I gotta recommend this to you guys. The book is called Billionaires Row. And the author is one of the most famous and most well-renowned Wall Street Journal real estate reporters. And I'm noticing a little bit of a correlation in Korea. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what would be the catalysts that has made over the last 5 to 10 years Korean families very, very wealthy? Well, the semiconductor boom, right? If you think about semiconductors, a lot of that comes from South Korea. You think about Samsung, right? You think about SK, huge in the semiconductor space. And you don't have to be the specific families who own these industries, who own the fabricators. The employees who have stock options, made a fortune. So you're actually starting to see a big uptick in buyers in New York City, in Miami, and LA from Korea. So it's sort of a similar trend, right? You had the big Russian boom of Russian billionaires, and now you're seeing the same thing happen in Korea due to the semiconductor boom. So yeah, Korea would be an amazing place to visit. Hopefully I'll be there pretty soon. Hey, Smee Media's here. So that's a pretty view with the red tree. It is. This is quite a unique sculpture here. Now this is directly as you're coming off of the brand new extension. So once again, for some perspective here, we walked all the way down there, we made a left, and this is where we were. This is the main Whole Foods. You have your office space, and then you have your residences. And then you have some, I guess these are like miniature tennis courts. Hey, Mr. Skyscraper 88. This is which city is the closest to New York City feel? I don't know. I think in some locations of Miami, it's a very similar feel, but only in select locations. Now, for example, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's fine. If you've ever been to Brickell, so downtown Brickell, that has a very New York City feel, mainly because it's very high foot traffic. However, if you've watched our Miami live streams in downtown Miami, there's not a lot of foot traffic down there. Now, there's big buildings, right? Super tall skyscrapers and the like, but I don't really get that New York City feel because there's not a lot of foot traffic. There's not a lot of people walking around. But as you walk across the bridge from downtown Miami to Brickell, right, sort of where the W Hotel is, it starts to feel like New York. It's probably like a mile square radius where you have, ultra luxury apartment buildings. You have the Brickell City Center. You have the Bank of America Tower. So I'd say that particular location feels a little bit like New York, in my view. I don't know, what about you? If you guys had to compare one city in the US that feels like New York, or the most closely resembles it, what would you say? I think I would go with Brickell, although I'm not very well traveled. So we'll leave that there. Hey, Miss Brown Eyes, what's up? Long time no see. Hopefully you're doing well. Joseph Hardaway is here. So what's up, Tom and Chad? Happy Friday. Oh, Ryan Beck says Chicago. I never got a chance to visit Chicago. My brother actually had his first job right out of college in Chicago. And he said the same thing. It's very similar to New York. However, the subways, I think, are elevated, and they sort of snake through the city. Ket's 42 says probably Chicago. Lady Sarita says I should say Chicago as well. I got to take a trip out there. Now, speaking of Chicago and Miami, one of the main, I would say, breaking financial events that have happened within the last 12 months is that Ken Griffin, the founder and CEO of Citadel Securities, has chosen to move their entire headquarters away from Chicago and bring it to Miami. So if you remember when we would start the live streams, we would start at the 20th floor of the Southeast Financial Center. Well, we can't do that anymore because Ken Griffin bought out the entire 20th floor and kicked us out of there, which is okay. And that is going to be their temporary office building until they build their mega tall superstructure in Brickell. It's kind of interesting. Hey, Pedro Luis says, hey Tom, by any chance coming to Brazil anytime soon? I would love to see you there. Well, I appreciate the invitation. The answer is I would love to come to Brazil. I just got to find the time to do it. As I've said, one of my goals as I enter the latter half of my 20s, I want to travel the world more. I want to be better traveled. I think it's important for people to travel the world. It cultures you a little bit better and you get a little bit better perspective on the world. So that's what I'm looking forward to. These are some gorgeous new developments that are all outlining the High Line. You can actually see into the living room and the bedroom of this particular unit. They have an amazing library. Now, if you look on a price per square foot basis in and around the Hudson Yards, they've actually been selling a little bit higher as opposed to some of the other neighborhoods. And I could see why, right? There's tons of stuff to do. You have outdoor dining here all around the Hudson Yards. Hey, the Celtic is here. What's up? Jose says, and also Buenos Aires. You will be impressed. Would love to go to Argentina for sure. For some reason, I don't know why, we do get a lot of viewers from Argentina. Now, maybe they found the stream through the Miami live streams. Every time I'm in Miami, there's a really, really big presence of people, tourists, and even investors looking to come to South Florida. There's a lot of Argentine people in Miami, lots. All right, well, I think we made it just in time because they're starting to rope off the High Line now. So we'll exit to the right. You can see sort of they're closing everything off at the rope. Now, I think during the summer, the High Line is open until 10 p.m. I think that's the summer hours. If it were up to me, I think they should probably extend it a little bit more, but we'll see. All right, let's make a right. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the brand new, Moynihan connector to the High Line. This is the first time we've explored it on the stream, so hopefully you guys liked it. I think they did a really good job. Hey, Emil Carr says, I follow you for New York City walkthrough in the financial info. Thank you so much for being here. Now, you guys notice how this is on wheels here? This is called the Shed at the Hudson Yards. It's literally adjacent from the Vessel, which is right here. A ton of people out tonight. Look at this. Lots of tourists. Hey, Nina says, hey team, good to see you. What's up? Here we have the Vessel. You can see the tracks that the Shed is on. You see it? So this entire building can retract depending on the weather and depending on what events are going on. I think that's very unique. You see the tracks right here. It rolls all the way in and out. And there's cool events that happen here. I've never been to one, but maybe I'll have to check it out sometime for sure. All right, let me catch up on some of the comments here. Hey, Elliot Wave Review says, hey Tom, do you think gold will be skyrocketing after the next BRICS meeting? I don't know. I think that now that you're seeing inflation cool in the United States, we haven't really seen that big breakout in gold that we wanted. And I was a huge bull on gold. I think you guys probably remember that. Whoa, what was that? Did anybody hear that like super loud screech? It seemed like a woman was screaming at the top of her lungs. Hopefully everything is good. Anyway, you know, that 2,000 number, $2,000 an ounce has really been that threshold for gold. And we've had a really hard time breaking through that level. And I think that's because you see inflation in the US cooling, thank God. But I've always said, look, if we break into new record highs for gold, right, on big volume, I'm gonna get involved in that. I can't not get involved in that. But, you know, you've seen equities recover. So if you look at the major 3 equity indices, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow, over the last 4 months, we've had pretty good price appreciation there. Now, I would like to see a little bit of a pullback and a pause in this rally, which we've really seen, right? We're sort of chopping around, trading sideways, especially around the 4th of July, because everybody's out of the office, right? We call it the summer doldrums on Wall Street. People tend to take vacations, trading volumes are really low on the exchanges. So look, global inflation rates are still pretty high, right? We talked about Argentina. They have a per annum inflation rate of 115%. But, you know, the driver of the global economy is right here in the US. And inflation is cooling. The only 2, I should say, categories where we're having a really hard time controlling inflation is in shelter costs, right? Rents are still really, really high. Housing is still high. And food, right? Energy's come down. If you look at crude oil, we're trading at what, $70 a barrel, down from $130 a barrel. So imagine this, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask all of you about and sort of talk to you guys about, is should we have a material slowdown in housing, right? Should rents come down? Should the prices of homes come down? I mean, you're gonna see inflation crater in a big, big way, right? So if you look at the breakdown of CPI, shelter costs encompasses about 33% of the calculation. I think it may be more now, actually, because I think they revamped and redid the calculation. This is 33 Hudson Yards, really nice development. It's a hotel and tower. But look, if you see rents come down, if you see housing prices come down, you know, you're just gonna see inflation just totally fall off a cliff, which would be good, Hey, the LT prods, as some say, housing prices have bottomed. I mean, maybe in some select markets, but, you know, I was looking through some specific rentals in the outer boroughs here, and you see obvious signs of rental prices cooling a little bit. You know, if you go on Street Easy or Zillow and you look around for like 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, you know, in the boroughs, you're starting to see the shift from, you know, the landlords having all of the negotiating power to the tenants getting a little bit more, right? So you're starting to see the landlords pay for the broker fees now instead of passing it on to the tenant. You're starting to see like 1 month free, 2 month free rent to try to entice people to get their foot in the door, if you will. So I think you're seeing signs of cooling in the housing market. I mean, what do you guys think? Depending where you are in the United States, I mean, are you guys starting to see the same thing? Housing prices cool a little bit, rents cool? Sort of, what are your thoughts there? Hopefully this truck doesn't jackknife all these cars. It's going to be a tight squeeze for this guy. Yeah, Zozo Bob makes a really good point. Zozo Bob says, Tom, housing is still in short supply, for sure. with wages still up. We actually got some wage data out today. Justin S says, once student loans start being paid once again, that could impact it a lot as well. It's a very good comment. Very, very good comment. We talked about that too. Does anybody know the exact date where the student loan payments will go into effect again? Anybody know? Dan's is starting to see some good deals in Ohio and northern states with low demand. That's good data too. SME Media says the building, the same corner with the car accident Thanksgiving. It is. It's down there a little bit more. You know, I think since we were at a light, we might as well walk there to save us some time. TC says by chance is the same intersection. Yes. Yes. So the intersection is down there. We'll walk down there since we're at the red light. Might as well. Photos from around New York says I have the info on student loans. Well, let us know. Let us know, man. Good to see you photos. All right, so we'll jump right into the topic for tonight. Guys, we got non-farm payrolls out today. Now, there was a lot of mixed messaging about it. A lot of people were disappointed about it and sort of like freaking out in a way. I guess I'll just sort of read you the data. So non-farm payrolls came out today and they increased by $209,000 in June specifically. Now, that was below the $240,000 estimate by economists. Now, many people are looking at this data and thinking, oh my God, what a horrible number. Well, I think we need to keep it in perspective. Does anybody remember this exact conversation this time last month? Well, the May jobs report came in at 360,000. I think it beat by like 106,000 people or 106,000 jobs. So I think we need to keep it in perspective, and I think there's some seasonality to this, right? To me, here's one more shot of the Hudson Yards connection. Now, to me, that really says, in my view, that there was a lot of hiring in anticipation of a very busy summer, particularly in the service sector, right? So as Zozo Bob said, wage growth is still up. I think on a year-over-year basis, wages went up 4.4%. Consumer spending and consumer sentiment is improving. So I think a lot of business owners sort of were looking at this data, as they should, particularly in the hospitality sector, and said, look, the summer's probably going to be busy. People are going to be spending money and traveling. We need to hire people to account for that. So potentially you had some pull forward in that data in May. You know, businesses hiring as much as they could to meet the summer demand. Any thoughts there? All right, this is the spot where we saw that little bit of a car accident over Thanksgiving. Hey, Ren 1018 is here. I see Tug Carter, Robert. What's up, Robert? Ryan Beck says, I'm still wondering how the ADP came in over 2x the forecast. The book is here. I'm trying my best to read all the comments. I forgot my sling on my briefcase. Hey, Brad's Brains, I just got a raise to this guy. Oh, nice. Brad's Brains says, I just got a raise, so this guy's wage is still increasing. That's awesome, man. We love to hear that. Yeah, I mean, in the non-farm payrolls number, it showed that wages rose 4.4% on a year-over-year basis. That actually was also higher than expectations. So, you know, people can technically afford to pay these outrageous prices, if you will. Look at the outdoor dining setup here. It's sort of like a garage, like with the garage doors coming down. It's really nice.
That's the thing. So it's interesting because like when
Dan says, same for me, huge raise at my job. Wow. Seems like everybody who watches Walks on Wall Street's raking in the cash, which we love. Love that. You can see the bar and seating area in the back. Really nice. So what do all these numbers mean? And what does it mean as we look forward into trying to predict the next move as it relates to monetary policy? Well, I think it's appropriate to quickly review that since we've been away for the past couple days. I'll give you one more look at the outdoor dining here at the Hudson Yards. So let's review where we are in terms of the monetary policy environment. So we're coming off the back of about 10 consecutive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. The federal funds target rate, as of recording this video, is 5% to 5.25 of a percentage point. Last month in June, I can't believe it's already July, but it's true. So last month in June, the Federal Reserve at their FOMC meeting decided to take a pause. We did not get an interest rate increase. However, if you look at the futures markets right now, it's pricing in an 87% likelihood or probability that at the next FOMC meeting, which I believe is July 24th through the 25th, I think, they're pricing in almost a 90% probability the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates yet again. This is One Hudson Yards. This is another beautiful, brand new luxury condominium development. Really, really nice. And I think that's why you've seen mortgage rates go skyward, right? Because usually the bond market will price in this activity. So if you go to cnbc.com/bonds, once again, cnbc.com/bonds, and take a look at the yield curve, almost on the entire short end of the curve, got a pretty big bump in yields. Take a look at that 1-year US Treasury yield. It's almost at 5.5%. That's pretty significant, right? I mean, if you go to Treasury Direct, ooh, look at this place. You know, if you go to Treasury Direct and you buy a 1-year Treasury, right? Let's say if you have $1 million, you're gonna get a risk-free rate of return of over $55,000. That's significant, right? So, you know, on one hand, I would argue this is a good thing because over the last 14 years, in this country, that we've been actually punishing savers. We've been punishing people for doing the right thing, saving their money, investing their money. But now, if you just want to, you know, buy a treasury or purchase CDs or, you know, even leave your money in a high-yielding interest rate account, you're gonna beat inflation now. I mean, a 1-year US Treasury is almost 5.5%. It's probably gonna go to 5.5% next week, and inflation's under 5%. So you're keeping up with inflation and you're making a little bit of money now for saving. So on that side of the equation, I think it's good. But on the other side of the equation, you know, people are upset because they were able to borrow money at 3%. This is a really nice lobby of this new condo. You know, people were able to borrow money for 3%, and now they're borrowing money close to 7.5% for a 30-year fixed. So, all right, this is 11th Avenue and West 30th Street. So this is pretty much as far as we can go in the Hudson Yards neighborhood. I just wanted to sort of take you guys a walk around. Hey, TC says, I'm a little bit surprised how the market has rallied when T-bills have a risk-free rate of return of 5% plus. Yeah, you would think that, you know, it would be competing with equities a little bit, right? But historically speaking, you know, equities have always outperformed bonds, right, over the long term. Lex S says, let's see how Amazon Prime days go next week. I didn't even know it was Amazon Prime Day, so thank you for letting us know that. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good gauge for consumer sentiment, consumer spending for sure. Oh, you know what's going on today? So I was taking the train back from Brooklyn. I was actually in Bushwick, Brooklyn today. And on the train, there were so many people dressed in WWE stuff. So I think at Madison Square Garden tonight, there's some major WWE event. Any big wrestling fans in the chat? Anybody love the WWE? Hey, UniJ23 is here. I see Gary Carpenter. What's up? Daryl is here. Says, hey, Tom from Chicago, Illinois. What's up, Daryl? Welcome. Brad's Brains says, I think Forbes article today stated that only one major housing market decreased last quarter, and that was Austin, Texas. I believe it, right? Austin was one of those markets that went up like crazy. Crazy. Shady901 says it's the WWE SmackDown. Well, WWE is actually a publicly traded company. I think they trade under the ticker symbol WWE, right? Wow, look at this. So this is a view from the vessel, but from the other side. We never see it from this side. I gotta put you guys down for a minute. I gotta tie my shoe. All right. You said, I think you're right. Yeah, they were bought by the UFC. I forgot about that. It's a pretty good play though, right? They definitely have synergies, right? UFC and WWE. Somebody says, are we allowed to go up to the vessel? I wish. Unfortunately, we are not allowed. They closed it down. Well, I think during the day you may be able to buy a ticket, but now it is closed. I'll try to get you as close as I can to it. Love is kind, says Tom. What are your thoughts on Threads? Yeah, well, that's a good question. We'll talk about that. Now, do you guys think that Threads, which is, Meta's version of Twitter, is going to be any substantial competition to Twitter? I don't know. I think I'll definitely probably create an account. Maybe that'll be one of my action items for this weekend. But anybody have a Threads account? Could provide some feedback of their experience. Smee Media says, oh yeah, anybody has tried Threads yet? Yeah, I've yet to try it. You know who pointed it out to me? Dan Sang. Yo, Fernando, what's up? Hey, Daryl, tell Fernando I said what's up. Lex says, Tom, you really don't have to create an account. If you have Instagram account, then you could have a Threads account. Well, I do have an Instagram account for the channel, Walks Wall Street. So maybe I'll try it out. If it's like Twitter where I could post long form content in terms of like written long form content, then I'm actually all for that. Hey, we have Natalie here. It says no Threads here. Not now, not ever. I think I'll try it out, but maybe over time I'll start to transform my opinion to Natalie's. Who knows? Photos from around New York says apparently you cannot close a Thread account without also... Oh, wow. Interesting. This is a unique shot. TGNYC says, I'm done with Twitter. Vivian says, gotta check it out. Jafet says, Twitter over Threads. Hey, Amar, what's up? Manol says, in Threads, once you get in, you are locked in. Ken Brockton says, competition is healthy. I think I agree with you, Ken. I want to get your thoughts. So Ken Brockton in the chat, I have a question for you, and I guess everybody else. And again, this week has been crazy for me, so I'm sort of leaning on you guys for direction here. I got to get caught up this weekend. But I briefly heard that Twitter and Elon Musk is suing Meta. I'm not sure how much weight that's going to carry, if any. I mean, maybe it's just, a petty move, if you will, just to try to deter, Mark Zuckerberg from entering in the fray with Twitter. But I don't know, it could be a potential problem, because if you think about the financials of Twitter was burning massive amounts of cash, right? When Elon Musk took it over, they fired about 90% of the staff. That's true, 90% of the staff. And now Twitter is almost cash flow positive. They're almost profitable. And at the second that Twitter is almost profitable, they have to deal with this big competitor. I don't know, it could be iffy. Hey, Alfonso says Threads user base is basically the same, which is already 2 billion. Interesting. Bill says, as far as I know, they haven't filed the suit yet. They were just making a statement. Okay. 0 former staffers worked on Threads. Got it. Oh, Steph says, I think it had to do with former Meta staff hiring former Twitter. Well, that's allowed, right? Now, well, here's the thing. I used to work for a tech company, and they made me sign what's called a non-compete agreement. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. It's called a non-compete. However, I will say this. I'm not a lawyer. Don't take legal advice from me. We're just having a conversation on the stream. They are totally unenforceable in New York. Like, it's laughable. Again, not a lawyer, but they are almost, it's like they're not existent in New York. I'm not sure about California, but if you sign a non-compete, again, not a lawyer, in New York, it's pretty much not enforceable at all. All right, let's head back into Midtown. We'll wait for the garbage truck. Ethan G says Elon Musk is really getting aggressive against Mark Zuckerberg, and I think they're going to do a cage match or something. Hey, Alex says, no, Zuckerberg said today they were at 75 million users at the moment, which is a lot. I mean, they just launched on Thursday. CM says it can be enforced for a limited time. Dan says, have you seen that big dome light in the middle of Las Vegas? I have not. I have not. All right, let's head back into Midtown here. Oh my God, John says, Tom, I can't take it anymore. 8 hours in the office and 6 hours commuting on the New Jersey Transit. It's gotten so freaking bad. John, what the hell? You got to move to the city, my friend. You got to move to Manhattan. So what happened with that? Tell us, John. Tell us, please. So did your boss require the return to the office? Is that what's going on? I mean, if that's the case and you're spending 4 hours commuting, you got to get something in New York, in my view, or else you're going to burn yourself out. And I've been there. I've done that, man. I used to commute on the LIRR every day to Lower Manhattan. I used to get the 525 train from Massapequa Park, take it to Penn Station, and then jump on the 2 train and take it down to Wall Street. I did that for years. It's brutal. It is a brutal commute. So hopefully you'll be getting a place in New York. We'll see. TK Porsche's non-compete clauses also are not enforceable in California, but that does not mean that one yeah, you can't take like specific IP. You're right. You're 100% right. Now also, you kind of gotta, you know, like think objectively here, right? If you're just, you know, a middle, like low-level employee at a company and you leave and go work somewhere else, there's going to be no repercussions. However, here's where there usually will be repercussions. I'll just give the example of working on Wall Street, right? Let's say if you work at a big bank, you work at Goldman Sachs, and you're a managing director or you're a partner, right? And then, you know, you go over from Goldman and you go work at Morgan Stanley. There's definitely going to be some litigation. 100%. 10 times out of 10 probably. And that's because, you know, if you're a partner at a firm or you're a managing director, you are pretty much in the lead on a lot of these big corporate deals, right? Particularly if you're an M&A or something like that. So you could essentially rip your book of business away from Goldman and, you know, whatever bank you're going to. So I think once you, depending on which position you hold at the firm, and this could relate to tech too, depending on which position you hold at the firm, probably increases or decreases the probability they're going to come and exercise that non-compete, in my opinion. But if you're, you know, an entry-level position at Meta and you go work at Twitter, very, very low probability there'll be any sort of repercussion because it's not really worth it, right? All right. Well, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually start these streams at 8:30 p.m. live from New York City or Miami. We'd love to have you guys here. Yeah, TC says there will also be a FINRA disclosure. You're right. Take a look at this dog, man. That's awesome. I think these are Korean dogs, actually. Okay, we've officially made it full circle. This is where we started the live stream. Looks like they're just putting the finishing touches on the Hudson Yard, so. I don't know, but what do you guys think before we head back into Midtown? Or I should say further, therefore, into Midtown. What do you guys think of the Hudson Yards? Look at this guy hammering away on the pickaxe. What do you guys think about the new Moynihan extension to the High Line? I think they did a pretty good job. Hey, John says, what happened to the 4th of July? Tried to watch you, but it blew up. Yeah, the internet is not really good for Verizon in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Really spotty internet there. So I do apologize for that. However, I think in due time, they'll probably fortify the internet there because there's some pretty expensive apartment buildings that are going up in and around the neighborhood of Greenpoint. You know, rents could go for like $5,000 and up. And to command that type of rent for, you know, Brooklyn, you're gonna have to, you know, fortify the network there for sure. Hey, Hawaii, what's up? Hawaii, you just missed it. We just left the Hudson Yards, the brand new Moynihan extension to Whole Foods. DM says, great job. I love visiting the Hudson Yards. I do too. I could see why they closed a lot of deals, right? Vacancy is very low there. Lots of offices, businesses moving to the neighborhood. No way. Somebody says, my son lives on 31st Street, right up the street. You know what's crazy? I forgot to tell you guys, it's been so busy. I actually just got a place on 30th Street. So that is my new humble abode, if you will. So me and your son, I guess, are neighbors, technically. All right, let's cross here. And yes, I still got the place in South Florida, but I got put on some pretty big projects here in New York. So it's gonna require me to be at meetings very, very early. So, whoa, look at this view, man. Whoa. Hey, thank you, Smee Media. Thank you, Love is Kind, appreciate it. I know Gigi said no Upper West Side. Well, Gigi, I'm gonna tell you why, okay? I'm gonna explain myself as to why no Upper West Side right now. The office where I'm gonna be working out of, well, is actually, the Upper West Side's technically closer, but I gotta be close to this guy right here, the train station, Moynihan Train Hall. If I have to pop out to JFK to go back to Miami, it's very easy to just jump out of the apartment, get right on the train and, go to Jamaica. But yeah, the new office will be right there on Madison Avenue, literally right next to 432 Park Avenue. So the building directly next to 432 Park, that's gonna be my new office. So if you guys wanna stop by and grab a coffee or network or do something, shoot me an email. I'm always down to do that. Hey, sweet baby Jesus, screw that. I'm telling you, I'm going back to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, not paying 4K to 5K. That's my neighborhood I grew up in. I still have connections there. Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. Williamsburg is expensive too. Williamsburg is really expensive. Some rents in Williamsburg for these ultra luxury apartments could be like $9,000 to $10,000 depending on the building. Hold on, I gotta tie my shoe again. I don't know what's going on with these shoes. Maybe we'll get to see the WrestleMania guys and girls coming out of here. Yeah, Cosmo says Williamsburg by the water is not cheap. Cosmo's 100% correct. Williamsburg has become one of those neighborhoods in New York that is, whoa, look at this guy. That is very, very fashionable. Very, very fashionable neighborhood. There's tons of new developments. I think the Olympia is a brand new development that's listed with Douglas Elliman. Very close to the Dumbo Williamsburg area, overlooking the water. I mean, those are multi-million-dollar apartments, so you're right. You're definitely right on that. All right, well, welcome to Madison Square Garden. Here we are. It's pretty busy for a Friday night. I think it's gonna be busier in 30 minutes when everybody starts to come out from the WrestleMania. Hey, J9, what's up? Yeah, Natalie, 30th Street. Hey, Marty Lewis says, hello, Tom, good evening and happy Friday. Thank you, Marty. Now look at the gorgeous columns on the post office here. It's still an operational post office. It's absolutely beautiful. Obviously, this is the Moynihan Train Hall, but the front is an operational post office still. Hey, War Walker, my God, dude, what's going on? Long time no see. You're just in time for WrestleMania. We were just talking about the jobs number that came out today, non-farm payrolls. Unemployment rate went down in the United States again. However, you want to know something that's interesting that many of you have actually called out here on the stream? Now, the labor force participation rate is actually lower than it was pre-pandemic. So you would think after this massive jobs recovery and this jobs boom we've had coming out of the pandemic, you would think the labor force participation rate would have recovered. It hasn't. It still has not recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Mustafa, welcome. Rick Stonewall is here. We're gonna curve around the backside of Madison Square Garden and say hello to our friend Billy Joel. Somebody says the percentage of Americans working peaked in the 90s, percent of the middle class peaked in the 70s. You know, it's interesting because when we really, scrutinize that data, and I was looking at it a little bit today throughout the workday, I didn't really have enough time to do a super deep dive. We'll quickly say what's up to Billy Joel. He's here. He says Madison Square Garden is the center of the universe as far as I'm concerned. I would have to agree with that. I would have to agree with that statement. But check this out. So these two facts may sound like they're contradicting each other, but they're not, right? So you have the labor force participation rate holding steady at 62.6%. However, get this. The prime age participation, so if you think about people ages 25 to 54, right? So prime age participation, ages 25 to 54, it actually rose to 83.5%. Now that's the highest in 21 years. So if you think about Americans who are in their prime working age, right? So people that should be working, right? If you're not incapacitated, if you're healthy, if you're ready to work, you should be working. Those individuals, right, ages 25 to 54, generally speaking, are all back to work. We have the highest participation from prime working age Americans that we've ever had in over 20 years, 83.5%. Bill says, thank you, Tom. No one mentions prime age. I think it's an important data point to look at for sure. Now, here we are outside of the WrestleMania. Can you guys identify the names of any of these wrestlers, professional wrestlers? I'm gonna try to see if I can identify or recognize any. I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I feel like it's all new characters, right? Yeah, everybody's saying nope. I feel like there are a lot of new talent. I guess that's what you could call them, right? New talent. Who knows? Oh, look at this. These are all the show props. So look at the sign that's pasted on the chair there. It says show prop, do not sit. So these are probably all the tables and chairs that they blast over each other's faces, right? So I'm assuming they're fake. So when you see, one wrestler hitting another one, they're probably those fake props. Kind of funny. Like they have some sort of army Humvee there. Interesting. All right, well, we'll head over to Koreatown. We'll see what's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, as Bill said, look, I think out of the jobs report, it's very important to really drill down and analyze that data to really get a full grasp of what's going on in the US. So, were there some bad things from the report? I guess, yeah. Now, I think to sort of play devil's advocate, one of the areas of concern in this newest jobs report is that the vast majority of the jobs that were created were government jobs, right? So if it weren't for, I think, government created jobs, which I think was about 60,000, we would have missed the mark by a long shot. Now again, sort of playing the other side of the fence, in May, we had a blow the doors off non-farm payrolls report, right? If you remember, in May, non-farm payrolls came in at 360,000. I think we beat by over 130, 150,000 jobs. So, you know, I think a lot of pull forward, as we talked about, potentially, especially in the hospitality space. If you look at all the data, it clearly shows that consumer spending and consumer sentiment is relatively healthy. So I think a lot of hospitality industry looked at that data and said, look, people are going to be out spending. People are going to be out staying in hotels, staying in Airbnbs, you know, purchasing services, right, experiences. So we have to hire more people before the big summer rush. At least that's what, you know, the data shows. Yeah, Zozo Bob's manufacturing jobs rose as well. B Cruz is my job is in the government. Awesome. Love that. Hey, Cooking is here. Says, hey, everybody. All right, let me... So somebody says, I listened to the ages stat again. Many people retired early during the pandemic, but I feel as if I have to work. Yeah, I feel as if that happened too, right? When the pandemic hit, especially I would say maybe about a good year into the pandemic when the stock market fully recovered, you know, people thought, you know what? I have a pretty big nest egg for retirement. I'm gonna call it quits. You know, if you look at cash savings balances too, you know, Americans, the savings rate has actually been going up, and there's a ton of cash and a ton of money on the sidelines. So now this is the brand new, I guess you can call it Penn 2, the brand new Penn Plaza, which is actually being developed by Vornado. Now in this particular, I guess you can call it radius of Midtown Manhattan, this has the highest vacancy rates anywhere in the city besides the financial district. So if you think about commercial real estate, specifically office, Lower Manhattan, the financial district, is about, I think it's 17% or maybe 20% vacant. Huge vacancies. You're also seeing that around here too. So I don't know, this project by Vornado, I mean, it looks like they're doing a good job, but they may have some issues attracting some tenants here. I mean, you have to compete with the Hudson Yards, which is just where we walked from. I think that's going to be a little bit difficult. We'll see. Now, when I think of Vornado, another main notable project I think of is 220 Central Park South. Now, it's not really a project, it's not really a project that you would think Vornado would do, right? 220 Central Park South, a Billionaire's Row style building. But they did, and there was actually a lot of infighting between Gary Burnett, which just so happens to be the founder of Extel, who created 157 and Central Park Tower. There was actually a lot of infighting over air rights. And if you noticed, the next time you walk 57th or 58th Street, you'll notice that 220 Central Park South is positioned a little bit to the left of Central Park Tower. And they actually readjusted those development plans. They came to an agreement and said, look, I'm gonna move 220 Central Park South over a tad bit to the left if you move Central Park Tower a little bit over to the right. This way we don't block each other's views. So there was a little bit of a compromise there. And maybe tomorrow, if we have time, I'll actually show you guys. You can sort of see it clearly. Yeah, New York City real estate business is very cutthroat, especially developers. Hey, Carl Roth is here from Canada. What's up, Carl? Says new buildings now have to be easily convertible between office and residential. so they can convert easy. It's a good point. It's very expensive to do those conversions. Let me just say that, very, very expensive. This is a very famous connector bridge. I always forget what this is called, but has anybody heard of the Urbanist? Has anybody ever seen his videos, the Urbanist? I learned about this thing from him, but I always forget what it's called. It's really interesting. I think it connected at the time a major department store here in New York City, and it was battling Macy's, putting extreme price pressures, essentially bidding each other to zero. But he has a really good video on this. What is this called again? For some reason, I always forget the name. Anyway. But yeah, it's, I think that's one of two still left in Manhattan. Ah, Action Kid, there we go. There we go, AK to the rescue. Gimbel's Department Store Bridge. I really want to go up in that thing. I don't think you're allowed in it though, right? Maybe it's closed down. As we walk away from it, we'll have a little bit better view of it. But AK, are you back in Miami now, or are you still in New York? I gotta tell you, I'm doing a ton of work on my place. I'll send you some photos. I had to rip up all the concrete in my backyard, which was a pain because for whatever reason, I think the previous owner was a big iron worker and construction worker in downtown Miami. And he reinforced all of the concrete. Hold on, let me just cross here. So like the concrete patios that extends from the footer of the house, right? Obviously I live on a concrete slab, there's no basements. But all of it he reinforced with this 1/4 inch thick rebar. So I had to go to Home Depot and rent a concrete saw to cut through all the rebar. It was nuts. It took me like days to do it because I needed to get it out of there myself because the contractor quoted me some ridiculous price. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it myself. I hauled it all away. And now it's starting to look pretty good. I'll send you some photos. They were there today pouring the concrete for the new patio. The tenants are there, so I'm not sure how thrilled they feel about being there with all the workers clanging and banging away on things, but hey, marketing videography, what's up? Long time no see and welcome to Koreatown. One of my favorite places in the city. 32nd Street. See a great view of the Empire State Building here. Wow, Vivian says, Tom, I had to repipe the home. Insurance was too high, big job, and expensive, but saving a lot on insurance. So what did you repipe it with? Did you redo everything with PVC? I did that too. Well, they did it before I moved in. Because my house is old. It's from the 50s. Built in 1955, I think, or maybe 1951. So it was all this cast iron, no good to have in Miami, especially if you're not running the AC all the time. Those pipes can swell and they could burst and they could crack. So everything has been rerouted with PVC. Even the main line, which is, well, the main line is not PVC actually. They push through this special material. I think it's like a fiberglass style material we relined it with. Alright, so welcome to Koreatown. Very busy here tonight. Tons of garbage though. I think the city needs to find a better way to figure it out with the garbage. Hey, Paul is here, what's up? Wow, marketing videographers. I'm going to start doing Manhattan cable TV show at our studio on 38th Street. Gotta have you on. Wow. That's really exciting, man. And I just got a place on 30th Street, so I'll be around. I'm right next to the Hudson Yards now. So I'll be back and forth between Miami and the city, as opposed to, you know, the islands. I think that commute was a little bit too much. This is Gray Street on the corner. It's one of the best like Korean bakeries. I think they're known for the burnt cheesecake. If you guys had that, it's actually really good. Hey, Steve Gonzalez, what's up? Willis is Tom. What's your opinion on built to rent? Saw that on the Today Show since it's so hard to buy houses these days. Yeah, I mean, I think there's the big argument. I'll say this, the big argument in the housing sector generally is the public, and a lot of politicians too. A lot of politicians too, they want to get big, hold on, just let me get away from these people. They want to get institutional investors out of the single family home business. Because here's the argument, and I don't necessarily agree with it, I'm just sort of giving you the argument. Now, the argument is, if you build single family homes to rent, the argument is single family homes are supposed to be for exactly that. A single family for people to buy so families can live in, not to be investment vehicles for profit. Guys, look at all of these Vespas. I've never seen so many here. Look at that. So they're not supposed to be for profit. So that's like one of the main issues with it. Can I help you?
Yeah, I would like to talk about Jesus Christ, if you have a minute.
No, I'm sorry, man. Sorry about that. But have a good weekend.
Can we have a second to talk
No.
about Jesus?
I gotta go. Sorry, man.
But you do understand that Jesus is our Lord and Savior and Supreme above all. Please talk about it. It's just something we can talk about. I don't want to have to follow you. This is bad. Like, let's have a conversation about Jesus.
But yeah, Lila, hopefully that answers your question.
Please, sir, please, I'm begging you. Can we talk about Jesus, please? Please. Can we just have a conversation about Jesus Christ? Please, sir. Please.
Just leave me alone, man.
I just want to talk about Jesus Christ.
Just leave me alone. Seriously.
But it's not fair. It's not fair,
Dude. Leave me alone. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
You're gonna insult me?
Just leave me alone.
I just want to talk about Jesus Christ.
Dude, leave me alone.
I just want to talk about Jesus. And I this is the place. If there's any place in the world to talk about Jesus Christ, it's right here, right now. You're in Cape Town.
Dude, I'm telling you, leave me alone.
I understand that, and I think it's a fair point. I just want to like have a very quick conversation about Jesus.
Dude, leave me alone, man.
Can we please just like have a 5-minute conversation and just pause it for a minute and we can talk about it?
Oh my God.
Say something about Jesus. He really does. He impacts me in a way that I think that he might impact you too. He moves me, sir. Sir, he moves me. Jesus Christ moves me. He moves you too. I know he does.
All right, Brick Stonewall, what's up? Did you get you got your 15 seconds of the fame and getting a rise. You got it. Just leave me alone.
There's a 15 seconds of fame. I just wanted to talk to you about my Lord and Savior, and wanted to talk about how he's the center of the universe. That was it.
Alright, just leave me alone, man.
God.
Leave me alone, dude. Stop.
Oh my God, why are we having such a hard time?
Dude, leave me alone.
I want to talk about Jesus Christ. That's all I want to do. Like, I'm not trying to be forceful. I really don't want to be forceful in this situation. I just want to talk about Jesus.
Oh my God.
Why is this cat and mouse game? Why are we doing this?
Dude, leave me alone. Seriously. Stop following me.
I'm not following you. I'm talking about Christ, and I'm talking about him in public with other people around that support him. My woman here, she supports Jesus Christ. You support Jesus Christ, don't you? Yeah. Did you see her head nod?
Dude, seriously, just leave me alone, man. That's all I'm asking.
I don't feel it's fair that you threaten me. All I want to do is talk about Jesus. I don't feel like you're equitable at all. Okay, fine, bye.
Alright, you finally left.
I really love you, and I love you in the wake of Jesus.
Alright, I think we're good. That was weird. But yeah, Lila, I apologize for the very rude and immature disruption. But hopefully that answers your question, right? Hopefully that answers it. There's a big stigma in America that single-family homes shouldn't be used for investment purposes. Now, that's not necessarily my particular, I should say, take, but I definitely do understand it, right? Because you have these big institutional investors, right? Private equity particularly, that invest multiple millions of dollars, sometimes billions, into acquiring single-family homes for rent. So the argument there is, you know, you have thousands of families across the United States that are looking for homes just to raise their kids in, right? Just to have a normal life. And they're competing with big investment managers for the property. So maybe that's sort of what you saw on the Today Show. And I think that's going to be a very, very big problem in terms of the legalese for that, particularly in many states like New York. All right, so now we are headed towards Madison Square Park. Hey, Haas Manning, what's up? Hey, Michael Joseph, what's up? Good to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just a troll, that's all. Yeah, Lady Sarita's like, he would have been cussed out by me at that point. Yeah, I mean, it's just I think those people are looking for some sort of response, right? So they'll go up to you and troll you on camera. They probably watch the stream, right? Follow me around and then, you know, try to get a rise out of me. But just don't give them what you want, that's all. Just don't give them what they want. We'll wait at the light here. FredEx agreed. That's a good point too. Molly Duran says, indeed, we should turn some of these school props into condos based upon the availability. Yeah, I think he's an all right guy. I mean, whatever. He's just trying to get a rise. That's all. Hey, Sparks Carnival, what's up? Sparks Carnival, any thoughts about the non-farm payrolls report today? Came in a little bit light, right? We would have had a big miss if it wasn't for government jobs sort of carrying the bag. But I think there was a lot of pull forward. That's sort of what we talked about tonight. Now, I think the main thing, or I should say the main takeaway from the non-farm payroll report is this. Wages increased yet again, and the unemployment rate dropped yet again. So if you ever remember what we were talking about in terms of Federal Reserve President John Williams. John Williams is the New York Fed president. He said there's going to be no circumstance where we cut interest rates until unemployment's right around 5%. It's 3.6% now, and wage inflation is still going up. So I think that's why you saw that big pop in bond yields today. And look at that 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right? Over 7%. 30-year fixed, I think the average, according to CNBC, is 7.13%. Back above the 7 handle. So I think that non-farm payroll report pretty much guarantees that we get another interest rate hike in July. So now this is Madison Square Park. Really beautiful at night. As we head deeper into the park, you're gonna see really nice views of the Empire. Look at this. This seems new. Wonder what this is. Dan Zhang says, Tom, are you still rolling jiu-jitsu? Yeah, still doing that. And jiu-jitsu is a very humbling experience, let's just say that. But I think it's a good skill to learn, jiu-jitsu. I think anybody who's interested in it should definitely take it up. It's intimidating at first. I've been doing it for, what, 6 months now? Can't believe it's already been 6 months. But, yeah, it's a very humbling experience. Let's just say that. And I also think it's probably the best martial art, in my opinion. Because if something ever happens or something goes down, I'm really not a person that likes to hurt people. I just cringe at it. So to be able to subdue somebody is actually very safe, right? I think that's why a lot of police officers should train and roll jiu-jitsu frequently, because you're not gonna hurt your opponent, right? That's the whole point. It's just to get your opponent into submission, so you don't have to physically strike them, right? You can just get them to the ground, choke him out, and then you don't hurt him, which is good. Yeah, Vivian says I would never get a variable rate mortgage with deferred interest option. Well, that's actually going to be a big problem now. We sort of went over that too on previous live streams. There's a lot of deals that were done in 2021, particularly on the multifamily side, that were done with this variable rate, floating rate debt, right? And I think a lot of those deals are going to go belly up because nobody really predicted that rates were going to go up at this velocity, right? We've had about 525 basis points worth of rate hikes in 18 months, right? Or I should say within that time frame. That's significant, right? That's the highest velocity since Paul Volcker. So, you know, I think rents are going to start to cool a little bit, which we talked about. And, you know, assuming some of this debt adjusts at higher interest rates, I don't think the rent rolls are going to be able to cover the payments. Something to think about. So it's also a problem on the commercial side too. A lot of this commercial debt or commercial paper, right? Remember, I think it's been about a year now. I can't even believe it's been a year. But a lot of the times on the stream, we would talk about the Chinese commercial paper market and how, you know, what a toxic sort of disaster that was. Well, I think it's gonna impact some big commercial projects here because you have vacancies in commercial office in select cities at all-time record highs. So that means your rent rolls are extremely, extremely low. And then within the next 18 months, a lot of this debt is going to need to be refinanced. And it's not going to be refinanced at these low rates. It's going to be significantly higher. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, this is the Flatiron building. Speaking of conversions, this guy right here is going to be converted into condominiums and I think a hotel too. I would definitely live in the Flatiron building for sure. It's a little bit of an awkward layout, but I think the building is super historic. I think it'll sell really well. And you have really good views, unobstructed views of the Empire State Building too. Hey, who dat Dave? What's up? What's up, Dave? Yeah, the LT Prod says that's going to be a very prestigious address. You know what? It's sort of like, and I've made this, not argument, but I've made this statement before. I think that's why property in and around Central Park South will always do really good because it has that iconic address, right? Oh, where do you live? Central Park South, right? Now, maybe to a lot of people that wouldn't matter, but to some people, you know, that's a prestigious address to say, hey, you know, I live Central Park South. It's similar to say, oh, where do you live? I live in 157. I live in 432. Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South. These are iconic addresses. I think it's probably going to be the same thing with the Flatiron building. Like, imagine going up to somebody at a party, right? You get to talking and you're like, hey, you know, by the way, do you live in the city? Oh yeah, I got a place in the Flatiron building. You're like, whoa, what? Yeah, I live in the Flatiron building. That's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty cool conversation starter for sure. Hey, Daniel G, what's up? Just hope you're having a good Friday night. I am. Daniel's joining us from Buenos Aires. Good to see you. JPEG 43s is more scaffolding, unfortunately. Steve says it's the view that sells. Well, I mean, if it's the view you're looking for, you got it. Look at this. Imagine being east-facing apartment in the Flatiron building. Now, it's still under construction, but we're just showing this for descriptive purposes. Imagine having an east-facing view. I mean, that's as good as a view is going to get in the city. I mean, look at that. Hey, Christian says, hey from Harlem. What's up? Good to see you. Welcome to all of our viewers from Harlem. You know, that was one of my first apartments I've ever had in Manhattan, is in Harlem. I rented a room. I actually rented an individual room in an apartment very close to the Whole Foods on 125th. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Man, how that neighborhood has changed. Lots of really nice restaurants were going up in and around my particular block. I think I was on 127th Street, so I would get off at 125. It was nice. I liked it. I think I'd live there again. Probably want to get my own place, though. It was back when I was a teenager. I lived with roommates. There was 6 roommates, if you could believe that. Those were the days. So now we're heading down Broadway, crossing East 21st Street. You know what I just thought about? We were talking about condo conversions. One of the biggest projects, I want you guys to look up this particular building. I'm actually doing some work on this building now. Well, I'll keep you updated later. 1 Wall Street, check it out. That used to be offices, and now it is, you know, ultra luxury apartments. Now, I think the building is less than 20% sold out. So they're actually having a little bit of hard time moving the product there, but I think I know a reason why, or I should say one of the reasons why. And, you know, we've spoken about this before on the live stream. This is Okta, by the way, a big cybersecurity company, trades under the ticker symbol OKTA. You know, Wall Street and Lower Manhattan is pretty dead at night, right? We talked about vacancy as it relates to commercial office. Lower Manhattan has the #1 highest levels of vacancy for office space. I think it's over 20%. Now, that does have a correlation with people wanting to live in the neighborhood. People usually want to live close to where they work. If you remember the very beginning of this live stream, we toured the Hudson Yards. BlackRock moved there, KPMG, I think the NHL is there, Accenture, tons and tons of consulting firms, tons of, you know, wealth managers, banks and the like. You get the picture. And the reason why they're moving there is because there's a lot of new ultra luxury apartments moving to the neighborhood. There's fashionable stores, fashionable restaurants. The Lower Manhattan is kind of cored out and hollowed out, but I think it's probably going to revitalize. Does anybody remember 2 weeks ago we did a live stream around the South Street Seaport? Does that ring a bell to anybody? Well, this is the first summer that the Tin Building is open. I think this is the first full summer that the Tin Building at the South Street Seaport is open. I think there's something along the lines of 6 brand new restaurants there, amazing outdoor dining space overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. So they're really trying to revitalize the neighborhood, but not a lot of New Yorkers know about it now. So look, if you're trying to sell something in Lower Manhattan, you gotta reframe the stigma of the neighborhood and talk about what's going to be happening in the future, right? You've got to educate the client on why you should live downtown. What are the events that are going on? What are the new developments? Is there investment from the city? Are developers, you know, notable developers and designers and architects building projects down there? You've got to educate the clients on this. So hopefully they'll sort of reframe and change their strategy, because I think Lower Manhattan is an eye of opportunity. You have 130 William, which is actually 90% sold out. So I think it all has to do with the frame and the marketing. Hey, Paul says, love the Red Room at 1 Wall Street. It's a beautiful Art Deco masterpiece. Good to see Paul. Steve is like 6 bedrooms. How many roommates? I think we had 6 rooms in there. It was very crowded. But a lot of those older sort of brownstones, railroad style apartments, they're like that. You'd be surprised. Hey, Wabi is here. Says we sold our place on Peck Slip 15 years ago for $575K. It just sold again for $3.8 million. Whoa, dude. Man, that one must sting. Yeah, Peck Slip is gorgeous there. That is right at the seaport. Wow. Man, 3.3 million. Now, I would assume it's probably all gut renovated since you've sold it, right? That's awesome, man. Hopefully you've held on to some real estate in Manhattan. Let's just say that. I know Carl Ross says, Tom, key to selling any property used to be selling a subway stop near Wall Street. You're right. I mean, things have changed. I mean, The last remaining major bulge bracket investment bank has just left Wall Street. I think we all know which bank that is. It's the German bulge bracket investment bank, Deutsche Bank. They're not at 60 Wall Street anymore. They're actually at the Time Warner Centers, which is now renamed the Deutsche Bank Towers, for the same exact reason, right? More things to do. It'll help you attract workers. I mean, if you're Deutsche Bank and you're trying to poach, employees from, Barclays, Morgan Stanley and the like, I think where you show up to work matters. And I would much rather show up to work at Columbus Circle than show up to work all the way in Lower Manhattan. I mean, that's just me. That's just me. Hey, Dan Sanks, I had a roommate when I was in Stony Brook University. Most of them were fine, but there was one guy you wanted to beat up every day. Yeah, I mean, roommates are something that you should do when you're young, right? Sort of pay the price today so you can pay any price tomorrow. Hey, Sparks Carnivals, his thoughts on Meta's Threads. 70 million subscribers in the first day. Should Twitter be worried? We talked about that a little bit, but I can promise you guys this. When I go home tonight, I think I'm gonna create an account. Although a lot of you have been telling me you don't technically have to create an account, it's automatically linked. But I think I'll start posting some long form content on there, on Threads. We'll see. I gotta check it out and see what it's all about. But here's the thing. Should Twitter be worried? I don't know, because I feel like people would just use both. It's a free service, right? Now, unlike the streaming wars, and we've talked about this a lot, I think that you need to worry about competition. You have Netflix, you have Peacock, you have Hulu, you have 60 million streaming services. So there's like extreme cannibalization and balkanization in the industry, right? So that's pretty much you're bidding it to zero. But I don't know, how are they gonna make money from it, right? How is Meta gonna make money from Threads? Run more advertising? I mean, Twitter's having a really big issue with advertisers because the conversion rates, and I think this is a really good case study to do. You could look up the data for yourself, but the conversion rates in terms of advertising on Instagram is way higher than it is on Twitter. It's extremely hard to convert customers on Twitter. Now, I think it's because, Instagram is more visual, right? So you're able to show off your products or services a little bit better than, Twitter if it's all text and just one picture. So, I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Marketing Videography says, you're so right. When I started on the street, traveled from North Bronx to Wall Street, quicker to fly to Miami. Oh my God. I could imagine, man. Looks like there's some type of event going on here. Bill says they want to hit 1 billion users. Then they plan on rolling out advertising, Mark said. So we need to keep it at 999 million. Hey, Laytha's here. What's up, Laytha? Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I guess you could call it animosity between the two billionaire powerhouses, right? Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Supposedly they're going to do a cage match. And Dana White says it's actually going to happen, so we'll see. Lupe says, Tommy, you old enough to remember MySpace? So I've never had a MySpace account. That's sort of, out of my generation, but I definitely know what MySpace is. I've just never had an account. I think the first social media account I've ever had was Facebook. Right now I was in high school. Or middle school, I think. I don't even know. Now, the founder of MySpace sold the company, I think, for $500 million. And then just sort of ghosted everybody and just focused on photography, which I think is really nice. I think if I ever have a big exit like that, a $500 million exit, $1 billion exit, I may do the same thing. Spend my days photographing the city, relaxing, keeping a low profile. Yeah, Michael Joseph says, wasn't his name Tom from MySpace? It was. Or it is. No, it is. Yeah, Tyrese's competition is good. I believe so too. Now, I've said it before multiple times on the stream, and many people disagree with me, but I think it's appropriate to say it again. In my opinion, Twitter is by far the best platform for networking. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, oh, no way, that's LinkedIn. Trust me. I made, in terms of prospecting, right? I did really, really well prospecting on LinkedIn in 2013 between 2015, because that's when nobody was really doing it, right? Nobody was really direct messaging people on LinkedIn to connect and sell products and services, but now everybody's doing it, and it seems a little bit spammy. You know, it's gotten to the point where I can't even use my LinkedIn, because every time I log on, I mean, my inbox is just slammed with just nonsense, kind of. So with Twitter, you'd be surprised. I've met some very, very just great people on Twitter. I've closed deals over Twitter, but you got to be hanging around in the right spots. Twitter is sort of like a big community that's bifurcated depending on what you interact with, right? So if you hang around financial Twitter, if you hang around real estate Twitter, it's all big players in the marketplace that are sharing their ideas freely, you know, and then that sort of crowds out all of the, you know, political jargon, if you will, people just infighting on Twitter. You'd be surprised. Mark my words. I think, you know, when I think about business and how you can network and make money, you have to have an edge, right? You have to identify your edge. And I think right now, if you're in business in general, Twitter is your edge. And I think you have probably about 12 months left of that before people start to catch on and where it becomes spam. But it's an unbelievable networking tool. Unbelievable. The LT prod is like if you were over 20 years old on MySpace back in the day, you were a creep. It's good to know. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams right about every day, starting at 8:30, walking around the city, exploring new neighborhoods and talking about the financial markets and the real estate market. Hey, Cash NYC is here. What's up? Adrian Pommels. Who Dat Daves is my financial guy. Went from a newsletter to Substack. I got it. Yeah, Substack is good, but it's a little bit cumbersome. I really like Twitter's old newsletter platform. Does anybody remember that? Review? I think they had to sell it off because it was burning so much cash. This is Joe's Pizza here. This place is packed. Well, good for Joe's. Speaking of Joe's, they're going to open a place in Miami, in Wynwood section. Oh, look at this place. Hey, Kilo Julia, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate it very much. This looks like a good Korean spot. Wow, that place looks really good. And it's packed. Look at this. Wow, Hawaii says Jen is popular here in Hawaii. Well, looks like we have a place here in New York. I may actually go eat here right now because we've been streaming for 2 hours and I haven't eaten dinner yet. I may actually go eat here. That's true. The garbage is insane in New York, unfortunately. All right, team, I want to wish you all a very happy Friday. And I also want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and having a really fun chat. You know, I think we covered a lot. We talked about non-farm payrolls. We talked about monetary policy with the Federal Reserve. And we will be back here live tomorrow. So if you want to join us here on Walks in Wall Street again, I'll see you at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are going to have a very restful weekend, recharge the batteries so we can hit it hard again on Monday. Just a quick reminder, we start at 8:30. If you want to connect with us off YouTube, feel free to click the links in the description. You could follow us on Twitter at Walks Wall Street. You could follow us on Instagram at Walks Wall Street. And you could sign up for our free financial newsletter. We have some exciting things coming up there. But until then, good night, everybody. Be safe, and I will see you tomorrow. So JM, thank you so much. Brick Stonewall, Arsenal Fan 13, Cash NYC, Haas Manning, Abdullah Hawaii, Sparks Carnival. Thank you so much. Mohammed, appreciate it. Damien, Susanna Q4, Wabi, Steph UH. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. See everybody right back here tomorrow.